if Dom from Fast and Furious was to produce and direct a movie, this would be it. Because this is one of those movies that you go like, if there's anything I remember about this movie is about family. Because it's a superhero movie, yes, but unlike Tony Stark, who it was more of Tony Stark alone, you have the Blue Beetle having this support from the rest of the family. Now, my way of putting, the best way I can summarize this movie from a personal perspective is a family versus gentrification. That's the best way I could put it. That's the simplest way to put it without spoiling it for you guys. The other thing is that if I was ever to make a comic book movie, I would look for this particular cinematographer because this movie looks beautiful. It's colorful. There's a way that they used luminant colors in a way that helps you as the viewer to understand what's happening. Now, in terms of what I liked about this movie, apart from the cinematography, which is a bit obvious, I just love the fact that this is a superhero origin movie, but it feels less about the character alone. And I think I mentioned it. It feels less about this one particular person and feels more about this particular group going against whoever they go against. But at the end of the day, you get that you get the final beat down, or you get the final action set piece. But generally, the movie, for most part, it's about a family going against these particular people. Now, in terms of identity, this is one of those movies that it's very clear. It's like Black Panther in that it's very clear about what it is. Because Black Panther was about Africa, this is about Latinos, it's about Mexican, and they don't shy away from that. I mean, they're loud. They are very, very colorful characters. Colorful not in terms of how they look, but I think personality-wise, they're very colorful. Their interactivity was one of the best part about this particular movie because I just loved hanging out with these particular characters, the mom, the grandma, the uncle. I was like, this feels, it feels like an authentic family. Let me just put it that way. The other thing that I like is when he puts on the suit. For me, let me just say this. For the better part of the first act, I was struggling with this part. I was like, yeah, I love hanging out with these people, but I felt like we are not moving. I felt like the story was not moving. I felt like the establishing moments in this movie was struggling, according to me. But when he gets the suit, that for me is when now the Blue Beetle movie began. And that's when everything suddenly was turned up to 11. Now, even the interactions, even because it's that sense of discovery, that sense of awe and wonder about everyone, because they're constantly discovering things about this particular suit and what it can do. And they're constantly discovering and we also are constantly discovering what each member of the family can do and what they can bring into everything without going into spoilers. What I did not like, as I said, I struggled with the first act. I felt like that establishing could have worked with better editing. With a better editor, I feel that it would have been chopped, considering that it's like a 2-hour movie. I feel that could have been played very, very quickly so that you can actually get into the suit and stuff. Now, this being an origin movie, nothing is new. We've seen this before. The only difference that it's a bit hyper. It's a bit fast-paced. That's why I keep saying that the first moments of the film struggle. When you get into the suit, everything just moves. Everything just happens. I did not love the villain, the primary villain. I had a problem with her. I felt that she was one-dimensional. There was nothing more to her. I would have hoped that they would have done, because I believe that a villain makes a story, and a good villain makes a good story. And in this case, I don't feel that she's so one-dimensional that she feels like she was lifted from a comic book from the 80s where a bad guy is a bad guy. There's nothing much more to that person. It's just, you're bad for the sake of just being bad. You're there in order to be the bad guy. There's nothing more to that particular character. But then there's now the character who gets to fight Blue Beetle. I liked that particular character. I liked the concept of him. I liked his suit at the end. And it's one of those things that feels like it was lifted from a video game. And I was like, I wish they would have done something more. I wish they would have given it a bit more story. The other thing that I did not like is the suit itself. I believe they would have done, and this is the problem that I saw also in Heart of Stone, whereby this artificial intelligence or this suit or armor It doesn't really have a personality. You don't feel like there's something more to it apart from what it's supposed to be. They didn't give it much more. I'm not looking. If you look at Jarvis in Age of Ultron was much more interesting because there was a sense of consciousness. There was a sense of self-understanding. There was a sense of when you interacted with it, it's like you were interacting with something real. But in this particular suit, I'm not saying that they should have emulated Iron Man, but they could have given that system something more outside the stoicness. I don't know if I'm making it clear. So generally, who would I recommend this movie for? So this is for families. If you have a kid, if you just love movies about family, and if you love eccentric characters and the interactions, this is the movie for you. If you're a film lover and you love comic book movies, you may struggle with this because it's nothing new in terms of the comic book stories, but there is a story. There are emotional moments, there are dramatic moments, and they're pretty done well. And the direction is there. There's a very strong sense of direction, especially after the suit comes into play and editing. So yeah, if you love superhero movies, you may struggle with this. I wouldn't say this is the best DC movie, but there is, I think this is the right path, and this is the right way to go because they have something. I'm not saying it's perfect. It's far from perfect. Some people may find that the interaction at some point becomes a bit annoying. The characters are extremely loud and unapologetically on your face. Sometimes it feels that way, but generally, I had a good time. Let me just put it that way. And families will have a good time. But for people who love superhero movies, you might struggle with this movie. So basically, that's it for Blue Beetle. If I was to give it a rating out of 5, I would give this a 3.5 out of 5. It's pretty good, but not perfect. It's nothing new. So basically, that's it. Remember to always watch what you enjoy and enjoy what you watch. And I shall see you on the next one. Gran Turismo to be specific.